Mr. Chairman, why don't we want to debate Elon Musk coming in and talking to us about his work and how he's enriched himself for $164 billion?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Chair recognizes Dr. Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to table the motion.
There's
I
a
second.
motion to table. Is there a
Mr.
second?
Chairman,
Second by
point of
Mr.
order.
Higgins.
Point of order,
Now,
Mr.
the
Chairman.
motion is not debatable, as many
Point of order, Mr.
are in
Chairman.
favor of tabling. Point of order. State your point.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's outrageous that this committee will not even entertain a motion.
No, you state your.
Chairman, that's not a point of order.
Somebody
You know,
who's breaking the law
agree. Point
and
of order.
dismantling our federal
There's
agencies
been a
and
vote. You're doing
hiring
point of
federal
order.
employees
No,
and
we don't listen to
hacking
demagogues.
data,
Out of
and
order.
you will not
Out of order.
even
Out of order.
entertain a motion
The
to
motion
bring
is
this
adjourned.
in
This is
front of the
demagoguery. This is
Oversight
out of order.
Committee.
As are in favor of tabling.
Yes,
signify.
let's have order in this
Yeah,
country.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and the House Oversight Committee, supposedly the watchdog of government corruption, has become an absolute joke under James Comer. And when Representative Melanie Stanberry showed exactly what happens when a Democrat tries to hold billionaires accountable, chaos. Absolute, undeniable GOP orchestrated chaos. Because the second that she dared to question Elon Musk's unchecked power, the entire Republican side of the committee scrambled to shut her up.
Stanberry, you're out of order. You know you're out of order. You know the rules of this committee. There's been a motion.
Mr.
and a
Elon
second to
Musk is
table.
out of
Now,
order and dismantling.
He's out of order.
God.
I call the question.
There's been a motion and second. Motion by Dr. Fox, second by Mr. Higgins to table. All those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no.
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion
Mr.
is
Chairman,
tabled.
I ask for a recorded
A
vote.
recorded vote is ordered.
They don't want Musk answering questions. They don't want transparency. They don't want oversight. They want the billionaire class to run wild while the rest of us get scraps. Let's be crystal clear about what's actually happening here. Elon Musk has access to our treasury. He has access to our social security data. He has access to voting tabulations. And when Stansberry demanded he be brought in for questioning, Comer lost his mind. She wasn't just speaking for New Mexico. She was speaking for every American who should be demanding answers. And Republicans responded by shutting down the conversation entirely.
I think it's outrageous that this committee will not even entertain a motion.
No, you state your.
Chairman, that's not a point of order.
Somebody
You know,
who's breaking
I
the law
agree.
and
Point of
dismantling our federal
Mr.
agencies
Chairman, I
and
call the
You're
question.
hiring
Point of
federal
order.
employees
No,
and
we don't listen to
hacking
demagogues.
data,
Out of
and
order.
you will not
Out of order.
even
Out of order.
entertain a motion
The
to
motion
bring
is
this
adjourned.
in
This is
front of the
demagoguery. This is
Oversight
out of order.
Committee.
As are in favor of tabling.
Yes,
signify.
let's have order in this
Yeah,
country.
They know they can't defend this, so they bury it. They drown out Democrats, block debate, and run cover for billionaires who are actively dismantling our democracy. And it wasn't just Stansberry standing up. Jasmine Crockett, Jamie Raskin, Eric Swalwell, they've all been fighting the same battle. Swalwell called it out directly. If you're still making excuses for this level of corruption, you might be in a cult. And that's exactly what this is. The Republican Party is a cult, loyal to Trump, loyal to Musk, loyal to their billionaire overlords, but not to you. Because if they were, they'd be demanding answers about why one man has the ability to shut down Ukrainian drones in a war zone, why he can control critical government functions in the United States, why he can interfere in elections and defense contracts with zero accountability. Instead, what do? Virginia Fox jumped in immediately to table the motion. Clay Higgins seconded it. No debate, no discussion, just a rubber stamp to protect Musk from ever having to face the American people. Comer wouldn't even let the vote be properly counted. The no votes were louder, but he had already made up his decision. Because this wasn't about fairness. It wasn't about democracy. It was about making sure you never get the answers that you deserve. This is absolute censorship. This is a real two-tier justice systems Republicans keep screaming about. They say they hate government overreach, but when a billionaire gets access to sensitive government data, they shrug. They say they fear the deep state, but when Elon Musk literally manipulates military outcomes and election security, they look the other way. These are the same people who tell you fluoride in the water is a government conspiracy, but they're totally fine with Elon Musk controlling government satellites. And let's be clear, other countries are already catching on. Doug Ford in Ontario is ripping up Musk's Starlink contract. Other provinces will likely follow. Because when governments actually give a damn about national security, they don't hand over their infrastructure to a tech billionaire with an agenda. Meanwhile, here in America, the Republican Party isn't just letting it happen, they're enabling it. So let's ask the obvious question. Why don't they care? Why aren't Comer, Higgins, and Fox worried about Elon Musk's tampering with Social Security? Why don't they seem to care that this is going to devastate red states the hardest? They have constituents on food stamps. They have constituents who need insulin. They have constituents who are on Social Security, but they don't seem to give a damn. So why? Are they just paid off shills? Are they so deep in Donald Trump and Musk's pockets that they've stopped pretending to care? Or are they so terrified of Donald Trump that they'll sell out their own voters to stay in his good graces? Because make no mistake, this is a sellout. The table vote was a sellout. The silencing of Stansberry was a sellout. Every single Republican in that room today was selling out America in order to protect their billionaires. And it all ties back to what Jasmine Crockett said. We elected a criminal to the White House, and now his enablers are helping him enact his horrific agenda on the world. Comer, Higgins, Fox, all of them. They're so entrenched in corruption, so obsessed with protecting their rich donors, that they are actively working against their own voters. And for what? A few crumbs of influence from Trump and Musk? A pat on the head from the billionaire class? Because here's the truth. They don't care about you. They don't care if you can't afford your insulin. They don't care if you cannot pay your rent. They don't care if your Social Security benefits get gutted while Elon Musk plays kingmaker with your tax dollars. They do not care. Meanwhile, Democrats are the only ones actually fighting for answers. The only ones standing up against this hostile takeover. The only ones trying to hold the most powerful people in the world accountable. And Republicans are doing everything in their power to stop them. This is just the beginning, folks, because this wasn't the only moment of chaos in that hearing today. No, this was just the warm-up act. Nancy Mace had a total meltdown and started screaming anti-trans slurs in the middle of the hearing.
The gentlelady has used a phrase that is considered a slur in the LGBTQ community and the transgender community. And let me please finish without interruption. And
Tranny. I don't really care. You want penises in women's bathrooms, and I'm not going to have it.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Let
It's disgusting.
let the gentleman state his parliamentary inquiry.
to me, a slur is a slur. And here in the committee, a level of decorum requires us to try consciously to avoid slurs. You just heard the gentlelady actually actively, robustly repeat it. And I would just ask the chairman that she be counseled that we ought not to be engaged. We can have debate and policy discussion without offending human beings who are our fellow citizens. And so I would ask, as a parliamentary inquiry, whether the use of that phrase is not, in fact, a violation of the decorum rules.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to be counseled by a man over men and women's spaces or men who have mental health issues dressing as women. I'm not being counseled by some guy.
My inquiry is to the chairman,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Order. The inquiry is about decorum. Decorum is at the discretion of the chair.
That's
I will be
mansplaining,
honest,
Mr. Chairman.
with the ranking member. I'm not up to date on my politically correct LGBTQ terminology. We'll look into that and get back with you on that. I don't know what's offensive and what's not. I don't know much about pronouns or
I appreciate that,
offensive
Mr. Chairman.
terms.
Mr.
in that
Chairman, we don't have to
community.
anymore.
That's right. The same party that just spent all that time whining about decorum while shutting down legitimate government oversight. Nancy Mace didn't just lose her temper in that hearing. She knew exactly what she was doing. This wasn't some accidental slip. This was deliberate. This was her moment to prove to MAGA that she belongs. Her tranny rant wasn't just offensive. It was meant to be. She said it loudly, repeatedly, with no shame. Because in today's GOP, this is how you climb the ladder. It's not about policy, governance, or serving the American people. It's about who can scream the loudest, be the most hateful, and serve the biggest distraction for their billionaire donors. Mace isn't just randomly targeting trans people. She's pushing a bathroom ban bill, one that has nothing to do with keeping people safe and everything to do with scoring political points. Her Protecting Women's Private Spaces Act is a manufactured crisis, a completely unnecessary attack on transgender Americans. But here's the kicker. Mace doesn't actually fight for women's rights. She votes against reproductive freedom. She votes against equal pay. She votes against protections for survivors of domestic violence. She doesn't care about protecting women. She uses them as a shield while attacking another marginalized group. And as soon as Jerry Connolly called for order, she doubled down. She didn't de-escalate. She didn't apologize. She knew in today's GOP, hate is rewarded, not punished. Yeah, the same Republicans who scream about decorum when Democrats ask about Elon Musk, the same ones who demand order when corruption was exposed, they sat there and let Mace rant and scream slurs like it was some kind of right-wing podcast. Not a single Republican tried to stop her because they don't care about decorum. They care about winning at all costs. This is the same GOP that sent Lauren Boebert running to Mace for backup because she thought she found a trans person in the bathroom. Except, of course, she was wrong. It wasn't just another humiliating moment for the Republican obsessed with culture war nonsense. Boebert had to admit, I learned my lesson. But Mace, she didn't learn anything. She saw what happened and decided, I'm going to lean in harder. Because in the modern GOP, hate isn't a liability. It's a currency. And this is where Jerry Connolly's response matters. He didn't yell, scream, or lose his cool. He didn't engage at her level. He just called out the obvious hypocrisy. We have rules in this chamber. We have decorum. And those rules apparently only apply when Republicans want to silence Democrats. But when it's their turn, when it's their time at the mic, suddenly the rules don't exist. This is the pattern every single time. Republicans use decorum as a weapon against accountability, but ignore it when it comes to their own behavior. That's why James Comer silences Democrats, but lets Mace spew hate. That's why Marge the Trainwreck Green bangs the gavel and demands order while the entire room laughs at her. That's why not a single Republican spoke up to stop Mace from turning that hearing into a circus. Meanwhile, Democrats are in the minority, which means that their message is their biggest weapon. And here's the good news. Some of them are stepping up. Yesterday, Jasmine Crockett and other Democrats protested at the Treasury Department. They didn't stay silent. They didn't back down. They showed up and demanded answers. And this is exactly what the Democratic Party needs to do more of. Challenge this. Speak up. Push back. Even when they try to drown us out, because this isn't just politics anymore. This is survival. This is a fight for the very existence of our democracy. This is a fight between regular working class Americans and the billionaire class that is robbing us blind. And the biggest question is, will Democrats succeed? Or will they let Mace, Comer, Nails, and the rest of these clowns keep running the show? Because the GOP isn't going to stop. And if Democrats do not start matching their level of intensity and messaging, then we already know who's going to win. Folks, get in this fight. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.